Hello, welcome to From Chaos to Clarity, a webinar that introduces Novobi's implementation blueprint for multi-channel retail organizations. I'm David Smith, Novobi CMO and the host for today's event. As you know, we're using Zoom today, and I want to draw your attention to a couple of features. During today's event, you can use the Q&A, chat, and the polls. And when a poll pops up, you'll have the ability to move that screen around so you're not blocking the presenter's slides. So we'd really appreciate if you respond to the polls. That helps us provide more insight and clarity of what we're providing to you in our upcoming events. So please do respond to those. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A as I pointed out. That should be in the tray at the bottom of your screen. I'll pass that along to the presenter at the time. And if we have time, we'll answer the question there. Likely, though, we will not, and we'll hold those questions until the very end when we get to a Q&A session, and we'll have both presenters discuss answers at that point. Our event today is scheduled for 45 minutes, and we have a lot to cover. We'll begin with understanding the challenges faced by growing multi-channel retailers. We'll describe the solution that's needed to face those challenges and introduce Novobi's proven approach, what we call the blueprint. We'll end with a Q&A session, as I discussed, and a call to action that you'll want to take advantage of. Today, we have two notable Novobi presenters, and I want to have a moment here for them to introduce themselves. If you will, Ahmad, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. I'm Imad, Senior Consultant at Novobi and Odoo Certificate. I have over 14 years experience in ERP implementation and project leadership. I'm happy to be here with you today and to walk you through this session.
Great. Lander?
Hello, everybody. My name is Lander. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Novobi. I've been in software implementation and strategy for over 15 years, and I'm excited to kind of introduce our multi-channel retail blueprint today with you.
Thank you both for that. Ahmad and Lander gave us kind of a brief summary of their experience. They represent kind of the quality of our staff here, but they're not the only consultants that we have. And we've worked with Odoo and retailers for a number of years. In fact, we've been with Odoo for over 13 years, and we're a gold partner and the partner of choice for emerging mid-market companies. During those years, Novobi has launched a lot of retail solutions for our clients, and they've come in varied operational sales and fulfillment channels. You'll see on the screen in front of you some of those clients that we've worked with, and we've had a great deal of success working with them as we've gone to implement the systems that they use to control their business. We've also had the opportunity to work with a lot of partners and integration platforms. Those are shown on the screen here, and those give us a lot of confidence and a lot of creativity as we go to solve problems for retailers. A lot of those are things that you use today and you'll probably recognize. So with that introduction, I want to go ahead and introduce our topic, multi-channel retailers and going from the chaos of growing and having additional channels added to the clarity that comes from a solution delivered with Novobi. And to get us started, I'm going to hand things over to Lander. He's going to be our first presenter today, and he'll get us started. So Lander, if you want to kick us off here.
Absolutely. Thanks, David. So, yeah, like I said earlier, I'm excited to share Novobi's experience and our approaches to solving the chaos of multi-channel retail. And to start off, maybe I'll tell a little bit of a story narrative here. So if you are in the webinar today, you are likely something like our little avatar here in the middle of this screen. So you may be, director of operations, you may be a CFO, or just, a CEO of a growing multi-channel retailer. And you have to manage your product delivery across multiple endpoints and kind of consolidate data across a lot of different systems and infrastructure. So, you are working potentially with a marketplace or a 3PL like Amazon. You have brick and mortar stores. You may have online stores and e-commerce, and you also obviously have inventory that you may need to worry about in your own warehouses or in third-party warehouses. All in all, you're sort of the hero of this story, right? And you're growing and things are good. However, if you are working across all of these endpoints with disconnected data and with fragmented systems, you know that creates a lot of challenges, right? First, maybe your 3PLs are sort of a black box. You don't know exactly what's going on in terms of your inventory there. Your store data may be fragmented and not reconciled back into your inventory. You may have operations that are not really connected to your financials in a super direct way or a real-time way. Or you may have, fragmented inventory across multiple warehouses and not know exactly where your goods are. And these can lead to quite a few negative impacts, right? Your working capital loads may be elevated because you're over ordering. You have store performance that's difficult to measure. You don't know where you're selling what types of products, or at least you can't access that information super readily. Your customers may get frustrated because you're not delivering product on time, or there's delays that you couldn't predict. And maybe most importantly, at the end of the day, your accountants can't close the books. So you've gone from this hero, to this poor person that's struggling to understand their business. And ultimately, this culminates in a lack of financial visibility and control in your business. So, how do we solve this challenge? And that's what we're here to talk about, right? The easy answer is, well, implement Odoo, right? Odoo can be the operational backbone for your operations and across your endpoints. And if you do this successfully, then you have one system for every sales channel. Your point of sales, your e-commerces, your marketplaces are all connected. You have real-time order orchestration. You have a single source of truth for your product costs and inventory levels. And across all your channels, all of that is synchronized, and you know exactly when you're going to deliver your sales to your customers. Internally as well, you have much more control of your inventory, your stock levels. You avoid stockouts. You know how much to purchase and when to purchase. And finally, this all lands in much more accurate and up-to-date financials, where your finance team is able to clearly understand the KPIs inside the business and close your books consistently and on time. So you get clear financial insight. So all sounds great and seems easy enough. But the reality of doing this is that you live in a very complex world, right? All of these disconnected systems, there's a reason why you've implemented them the way that you have. There's a reason why you have these endpoints that each serve a very specific purpose. And so to translate that complexity into a unified system is not a simple task. And that's why anywhere from 55 to 75% of ERP implementations actually fail to meet their objectives. And on average, most ERP implementations run almost 200% over budget. So, what are the root causes for these failures from what Novobi's seen? I'll run through a few of these, right? There's quite a few that could drive challenges, but the ones that we see often are that there's not a shared definition of success. First of all, you may have a system that sounds great when you first contemplate it, but across your various teams, you don't know what exactly the goals are and how those goals dovetail into an overall vision for the system. And because of that, you may have scope that you're aiming towards, but you don't know how to govern that scope in terms of trade-offs. When things get complex, or you have to make a decision on what to focus on first, there's not a structured way for you to make those decisions inside the project. Also, very importantly, oftentimes we find clients will focus on the system and the functionality in the system and the day-to-day workflows, but don't focus enough on how they're going to migrate their existing data into the new system to ensure business continuity once Odoo is live. And then, there may be a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning of a project for the implementation of a centralized ERP like Odoo. But if we don't translate that into enthusiasm at the end user level and understanding at the end user level, then even if we implement a really great system, users won't know how to or won't know why they need to adopt it. And that will lead to reduced return on investment for all of the work in implementing the system. So, these are just a few, and there's a few more on the page here, reasons why a implementation may not go the way that you had originally envisioned. And for us, it's not just that, we sort of invented these things. We know these things because we have a lot of hands-on experience in actually delivering multi-channel retail Odoo implementations. We've done, well over 50 client implementations with, hundreds of endpoint solutions integrated into those implementations. And we've served clients in a very wide range of growth stages and scale. So anywhere from under 5 million to over $500 million in revenue. And we understand that the challenges at each of those stages change quite a bit, right? And the things that we need to accomplish change quite a bit. So we've used all of that experience to culminate in the reason we're here today, which is that we've created a repeatable framework for implementing multi-channel retail ERP, especially Odoo, through a structured set of processes and frameworks that allow us to get to a unified operation system across e-commerce, marketplaces, and physical stores. And that's what we're here to kind of illustrate today. And I will turn it over to David and Ahmad to take you through the specific details of that system and how we deliver it for our clients.
Thanks, Lander, for taking us through kind of the chaos view of what happens when you try to grow a multi-channel retail business. I think you did a great job of pointing that out. We did have a question, and I think we have time for it here. A few slides back, you described some of the reasons why ERP implementations fail. You didn't mention the choice of the platform or software. Why isn't that the number one reason that implementations fail?
There's a couple of reasons that doesn't always drive the failure. And the first one is we actually find that clients do a lot of diligence when they're choosing platform. It's easy to find out if a platform has the features you need to run your business. That's usually published, by the vendors. And if you work with a reputable partner, they can tell you, are your workflows supported? And certainly we know Odoo very well and can do that. So the decision point of which platform to choose, is often well informed. But I think maybe the more important reason why the software itself isn't the reason most fail is because the softwares are typically well built, right? As long as there's a thoughtful and frameworked way to implement these tools, ultimately a lot of these business processes are well understood. What really matters is working with somebody that understands all of the process challenges, project challenges, and human challenges that can arise in these projects, and that has a way to navigate those challenges in a systematic way to get you to success.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Thanks for clarifying that. That's an important distinction between the platform and the partner that you pick to help you implement it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that brings us to actually talking about the blueprint and what we believe is the strongest solution for the chaos that is caused by growth. And I'm going to hand this over to Ahmad, and he's going to take us through the blueprint and what's included there and why that's important. So, Ahmad, if you'll take us through that.
Sure, David. Thank you, and thank you, Lander, for the introduction. Yeah, so far we have introduced the blueprint and the challenges it means to solve. Now let's look at how that thinking translate into architecture. So for us, the blueprint is not just a delivery framework, it's a result of seeing the same multi-channel complexity pattern over and over again and organizing them into a structure that can actually scale. As shown earlier by Lender, in a multi-channel environment, complexity typically does not come from a single system. It built across channel, data, fulfillment, financial workflow, and all of this resulting into many moving parts and not enough control. So the role of the architecture is to bring that environment back into alignment. It will create a structure where system, data, process support, this all process will support each other instead of competing with each other. It gives the business a way to operate, across channel with more consistency, more visibility, and much stronger control as it grows. As you see in the screen, we typically structure that architecture in 3 layers. We start with the core platform. This is the operational backbone of the business, product governance, order orchestration, real-time inventory, financial control, and embedded reporting. It's become your system of record. Then we connect the required integration like e-commerce, marketplaces, shipping, and payment tools. And these systems execute activity, but the logic stays in the core. And once that foundation is stable, that's when the business can unlock stronger analytics, intelligent forecasting, automation, and better decision support. So the logic here is simple. Bring all sales channel into one operational system, and that create much clearer financial insight. Um, so let me bring this to life with a practical view of how we typically structure a multi-channel retail environment around Odoo. We usually, as you see, we usually start with the core, and for most multi-channel retailers, the core start with sales, inventory, purchase, and accounting, and in some cases, point of sale, depending on the business model. Why we do start here? Because those are the modules that establish the operational backbone. They give the business one place to manage order, inventory, purchasing activity, and financial outcome in a consistent way. And this is like the foundation of any system. Um, and also that is where we see Odoo create the most value, not as another tool in the stack, but as the operational core that brings structure underneath growth. So instead, here we are only on the basic foundation of the ERP. Then once the core is in place, we start connecting the required integration. That typically include e-commerce platform like Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, shipping and fulfillment tools, payment gateway. You are talking about Stripe, PayPal, Authorize.net, tax automation. These are the integration that support day-to-day execution across channel, and they are what allow the Odoo core to stay synchronized with the operational reality of the business. Then as the architecture mature, we layer in the operational or optional or phased integration. This is depend on business to business, but basically it might include EDI with a platform like SPS Commerce, spend and expense tools like RAM, APAR automation with tool like Bill.com. Also, other integration like BI platforms, marketplaces, and also it might include external accounting tools such as QuickBooks, depending on the client phases or migration strategy. For example, QuickBooks, it may be required in certain cases where it remains the primary accounting system. So the point of architecture is not to connect everything at once. It's to establish the right core, connect what is operationally essential, and then expand the environment in a controlled way based on business value. So, that's how we think about the securing the architecture. The next question is, how do you actually move from that target state to live environment without disrupting the business? And that's where the delivery approach becomes critical. So we have built at Novobi a delivery approach specifically designed to bridge the gap and to move from architecture to execution in a controlled and realistic way for specifically for multi-channel data environment. And we usually approach this in 4 stages. Number one is architect and design. This is a very important phases, and this where we set the foundation before configuration or any development. So we take the time to understand how the business operates. Today, we look at the sales channel, the fulfillment flows, the financial architecture behind them. We define the integration landscape, the reporting structure. Also, we look at the data scope, and also just as importantly, we identify risk areas early before they become, biggest issue later in the project. So this is also where another thing important here is we align on the roadmap and the governance model. So we will bring clarity on priorities, sequencing, and also decision making from the start to ensure that we have like a clear road for the implementation.
Yeah. Mike, can we pause here for a second? The
Yep.
discovery phase seems like it's pretty substantial for us, pretty instrumental in success. And I want to ask you maybe to describe what the outcomes or deliverables are for this particular phase of the project, because I think that this defines a lot of the things that are going to happen afterwards. So maybe you can spend a minute to tell us about what we actually produce here and what we deliver to the client.
That's a great question, David. Thank you. The goal of the architect and design phase is to create clarity and alignment before any build or any configuration. So by the end of this phase, we deliver the current state workflow diagrams that clearly map how the business operates today. From there, we assess the environment and define the target system architecture based on the business goals, constraints, and dependency. And here we take time to, deep dive and see the external integration and define what need to be integrated. We also deliver future state workflow diagrams for each core operation, including order to cash, procure to pay, inventory, finance, and other depending on the business. Also, in addition, we produce a business requirement document with all requirements clearly defined and prioritized based on business impact. We define the integration model, data migration scope, and approach, and also a phased implementation roadmap with a timeline and budget. So by the end of the A&D, the client had like a clear and complete structured plan covering process, system design, and execution ready for implementation.
Great. Thanks for going over that. That seems like a pretty substantial piece of the project there. So thanks
Okay,
for taking a moment to answer that question. So
problem.
go ahead. Let's get to the next one, which is
Good. Yeah.
the
Yes,
build.
So we were at the architecture and design. So the second stage is the core ERP foundation. This is where we put the core Odoo foundation in place along with a critical integration. The critical integration that will be needed to support the business. At this point, the focus is to establish control across the core operation. Sales, order orchestration, inventory visibility, fulfillment alignment, and financial control. So the focus is only on the basic and the foundation here. The third stage is expansion and optimization. Once the foundation is in place, we start expand based on the business priorities established in the architecture and design. That may mean, additional channels, additional marketplace. It might mean more advanced reporting, broader functional scope. So it depends on the priority defined in the first step of this delivery approach. And this is where the environment start to move from the initial foundation to more mature operating module.
Yeah. So Ahmad, here I have another question.
Go ahead.
There seems to be a distinction between required integrations and additional integrations, or required scope and additional scope that are kind of delivered in these two stages. How do we determine which goes into which column here? When we approach it? How do we determine what's a required integration versus an additional one? What's a required kind of base scope that we're going to deliver during the core?
That's something we get asked quite often. The way we differentiate between required and optional integration is based on operational dependency. Required integration are those one the business need to run day-to-day operations. If removing that integration with block like something basic like order processing, fulfillment, inventory update, or any financial transaction, then it's considered required. But we usually don't decide this in isolation. This is defined during the architect and design phases based on workflow analysis and the business priorities. In some cases, we intentionally face certain integration, keeping them in an existing legacy system for a period of time, so we can prioritize the areas that drive the most immediate value for our client. So it depends on case, but the logic is simple. Required integration support core operation, optional integration support optimization and growth.
Great. I think that clears it up for me. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so the last stage, support and growth, this is where we help the client stabilize the environment through structured support issue resolution, user adoption, follow-up, and system tuning. So from there, the focus shift toward, a long-term support and optimization roadmap. So the business has a clear path for continued improvement as it evolves. Okay, so after this, let me show you how this look in practice. This is a client we have been working with, Beauty Solutions, a typical multi-channel distributor in beauty and cosmetics space. They were operating on a legacy NetSuite environment, non-ERP, with a multiple connected systems such as BigCommerce, Pippery. So over time, this created, a data silos, manual accounting process. This also increased operational complexity across all this channel. And as the business, scale more, they have more complexity, and the visibility decreased, and the control become more difficult. So instead of applying a fixed implementation model, we adopt our approach to their specific operational reality. We started with the architecture and design phases. We align the solution with how Beauty Solution actually operates, across their channel, product, and pricing structure. We assess their current setup, identifying the key constraint, and we design the architecture based on their priority. Then, as we move into the core ERP foundation, we adapted the core to their highest impact priorities. In this case, for beauty solution, finance and accounting were the main pressure points. So we focused there first. We start automating the K process and integrating tax engine like Avalara to bring structure and consistency to tax management. And from there, we expand into CRM and sales alignment with their growth model. This way of working enable better management of their customer relationship, their pricing strategy, and their promotional activities. And finally, we extend into warehouse and fulfillment, integrating Ship Hero to streamline their execution and operational efficiency. So what you see here is not like a rigid sequence. It's structured but flexible approach where each phase is adapted to the client's priority and constraints, and most importantly, readiness. And that's what allows at the end Beauty Solution to move from a fragmented environment to a unified, scalable system with a better visibility and a foundation that can continue to build on. So we still supporting them today as the business grow to evolve and to integrate more future in the future. So yeah, this is one of the a great experience we had with a multi-channel. Yeah, at the end, success is not just about going live. It's about having foundation you can actually run, improve, and scale with confidence. And if I had to summarize the purpose of the blueprint, I would say it's to help the multi-channel retailers to grow fast, but while gaining stronger control over the main operations such as inventory, order flow, financial performance, all this within a single system. So there's a lot more we could cover than we can fit into 45 minutes, but we would be happy to go deeper in a follow-up conversation. So with that, I will hand it over to you, David, to share more details.
Great. Thank you, Ahmad, for taking us through that. That really brings some clarity about how we go about solving the problem, how we implement kind of a unified approach, but it's flexible enough. Even though we've done this for multiple retailers, we don't come in and kind of mandate, a project structure. We look at what their needs are using that architecture and design phase to kind of lay out a very unique approach to solving their problems. And I think your client summary there did a good job of explaining how we were flexible enough to get them to where they'd like to be.
Thank you there.
So we're going to pause for a second. There's a poll that's being displayed to you. I'd appreciate it if you could answer the questions there in the poll, and we'll keep that up for a second. And then we're going to get to our question and answer series. So if you have questions that you'd like to give to the presenters, to either Ahmad or Lander, please submit them now. I'll review those and kind of see if we can gather a couple of those together to paraphrase them so that we're not asking individual questions, but we'll address those here in a second. So let's go on to that. So we have a couple of questions, and Lander, I'm going to kind of group a couple for you first, give Ahmad a chance to get a sip of water, clear his throat. Is related to the types of businesses that the blueprint is best suited for. The question is really, I think about size or type of retail. Is there something that you have in mind that would describe maybe what type of business we're best suited for with our blueprint approach?
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is that I think the blueprint, this particular blueprint applies to anybody who is selling across multiple channels, selling products across multiple channels. that maybe you are selling wholesale and direct to consumer, or across multiple consumer channels. Um, this blueprint would apply, and we would use a very similar methodology to investigate the best approach to roll out Odoo and associated solutions to your system. Um, but that being said, we've obviously tailored this particular blueprint to multi-channel retailers. Novobi has a very similar blueprint style approach to different types of industries that we take, because we understand that each industry has a unique set of needs that need to be understood and planned for when you're rolling out an ERP. So obviously a manufacturer is not going to have the same needs as a multi-channel retailer. And so we really focus this one on people selling products across multiple channels. Size wise or scale wise, the more you sell, the bigger you are, probably the more complex your operations are, and therefore the more relevant and the more risk you can take out through a really systematic implementation approach. But there's really no limit on the lower end or on the higher end for who this blueprint would apply to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Hopefully that answers the question there. I have another one for you. This is related to once they've gone through an implementation. I'll paraphrase it here. It says, what impacts would we see in our business, and how long does it take to achieve them? And I know that's kind of a hard question to answer because there's all sorts of circumstances that would have bearing on that. But maybe you can talk about maybe the KPIs or impacts first, and then what we normally see as far as having those impacts show up on a business.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we would do upfront with our client is understand what are the key drivers for their business and what are the KPIs that we're trying to move through this project, right? Now, as part of that alignment that I talked about earlier is making sure that everybody's on board for the vision of what the system is going to do and the ROI it's going to produce. Oftentimes, when we're talking to our clients, the KPIs that we are tracking towards are things like, inventory days on shelf, overall sort of working capital required in the business, order fulfillment times, and return fulfillment times, and then just kind of obvious headline numbers like volume of sales across different channels. Um, Product margins and things like that are obviously going to be important. When we first roll out, and as Imad kind of really laid out the stages of the rollout really well, when we roll out those core operations, we want to be looking for business operation KPI improvements. So those are much more around sort of in terms of the operations, how much inventory are you storing, how long are you storing it, how much visibility do you have into what's in your four walls or at your different endpoints. And then as you start, adding some more integrations to additional endpoints or optimization tools, you should start seeing reductions in purchasing costs and bulk purchase discounts, and you should start seeing reductions in fulfillment times and things like that. So we would track KPIs along the build out of the system itself and define those with you to say what constitutes success for the implementation.
Okay. Great. And I think I have one more here that's about a lot of SKUs and a lot of transactions. So I'll rephrase this. How do we handle the performance and scaling issues associated with large systems? And by that, I think they mean large numbers of SKUs and large numbers of transactions.
Yeah, great question. I think this one comes up with our clients often as well, as they scale their infrastructure or their actual sales volume. How do you scale the infrastructure to meet that additional demand? And this is one of those great problems to have, right? Like you're growing, you're selling a lot, but suddenly, your tools can't keep up. We've worked with a lot of our clients to implement architectural solutions to those challenges, specifically implementing, data warehouses for kind of dedicated reporting solutions, so that we're not hitting the core Odoo database when we want to pull large financial or operational reports. So that's one way that we've solved for that. And another way is that we've implemented middleware layers to allow transactions to become somewhat asynchronous. And so therefore, we have a little bit more flexibility in the system in terms of when a transaction happens and when it has to hit the database. So there are fewer conflicts between transactions happening all at once. Those are just a couple of examples of architectural solutions that we've implemented to help allow for scale. But this is a common challenge that we hear, and one that we work very closely with our clients to sort of navigate and define a solution for.
Great. Great. I'm going to transition and have a couple of questions for Ahmad now. So thanks for answering those, Lander. Ahmad, a lot of the questions that have come in are around the composition of the solution itself. Um, some are related to technology partners and integrators, and they're around e-commerce packages and who we integrate with.
Yeah,
Can
good
you
question.
address that? And the next one
Of
would be
course.
around accounting and tax packages. So first one was e-commerce packages.
Yes. Yeah, we typically integrate with all major e-commerce platforms such as Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and we have a long experience doing this. For example, for Shopify, one of our clients have more than 90 Shopify store, and we figure out specific solution to integrate all this store, keeping the efficiency and performance for the system. But more broadly, we can integrate with any platform that expose standard APIs. So the approach is not limited to specific tools. For the tax packages, same thing. We align with the client's existing financial stack. We integrate uh, accounting tools like QuickBooks or any other tax engine, Avalara or any other tax, but the approach is driven by the client environment and the integration capabilities. In the same line, if the question is for any other system integration involved in this solution and in the integration, for example, for the payment provider, for example, we can
Yeah.
also, um, it will be the same logic without limitation. We already have experience with the major payment providers such as Stripe, Authorize.net, and much other. But we can still work with the client if he has like specific solution with a standard integration method, and we can for sure integrate those.
Okay. All right. Um, let's transition over. There are a couple of questions around Odoo itself.
Mhm.
Um, and Odoo and the blueprint, I guess, is the way that we should say that is Odoo the only platform that the blueprints work with? Why not NetSuite or SAP Business One?
Yeah, very interesting question. Our blueprint is built specifically around Odoo because we believe in Odoo, and because also Odoo come with a flexibility, integration, a lot of capability, and unified platform. So we can build everything around it and make it like the source of truth. Um, Odoo allows us to manage all of this. We were talking about the basic module like inventory, fulfillment, financial transaction. All of these are the major thing that can make a system a source of truth. So, and also, uh, most importantly, to give more control on the workflow and data consistency when you have like a flexible system that allow you to manage the core operation and also have the flexibility to do some customization and allow you to integrate the most important external tools. other ERP mentioned like NetSuite and SAP Business One are strong platform, but they are typically more rigid when it comes to adopting like workflow or handling multi-channel complexity, with a lot of customization or integrating with other systems. So I would say uh, for the type of environment we work in currently, Odoo give us the right balance of control, flexibility, and scalability.
Okay, great. Thanks for answering that.
No
Um,
problem.
we're going to move on, and I want to, as I promised at the beginning of the presentation, have a call to action for you to take up. So here it is. If you think that you're ready to move from chaos to clarity, if you saw yourself in some of these examples that we've shown, I think that this would be a great first step for you. We have a blueprint clarity assessment, basically, working with you to answer the questions around the risk that you have with your current environment as you continue to expand into different channels. We'll give you some insight into what those risks are and how they might be mitigated. Guidance into achieving a unified solution, looking at both what your risks are, what you could hope to achieve, and give you some insights into that. And then finally, clarity around your next steps. So if you're interested in booking a clarity assessment with our team, the QR code is on the screen here, as well as in the chat. I think you'll have a link for the form that would allow you to request this. So we're going to stop here for a second, allow you to take advantage of that. You'll go to a form, fill out that form. We'll work that through, contact you, and make sure that we get the right consultant assigned to your business so that we can make the best use of our time. Once we get that book, we'll send you some preparatory questions and have you look over those to make sure that we've organized kind of the discussion so that we're not wasting each other's time and we can get right to the point and get you to the value of the assessment, which is analyzing your current risk and what you should be addressing, what it looks like to go to a unified system for your business, and then what we think would be your next steps. And so I'm going to hold right here. We did have another question come through, and I don't know whether Lander or Ahmad, you want to take this or not. The question was, if I'm a retailer that isn't at the point of having multiple channels, I'm not at that level yet. We're just with a store and with a website, but we know that we want to expand. When would be the best time for us to engage with Novobi?
Yeah, great question. So I think it depends a little bit on, and I'm not sure just from the question if that person already has Odoo or they're just thinking about it. But you know, uh, certainly if you are thinking about implementing Odoo, even at an early stage, I think it's worthwhile having a conversation about your vision for expansion and scale, and making sure that you're thinking about all of the right sort of priorities and processes you want to put in place to enable that scale when you grow. The way we typically think about it at a smaller scale is you really want to get your financial processes right and make sure that all of your operations are landing in your books correctly. If you do that well at an early stage, you're really set up for success as you grow. So that's really where we would focus first.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, we're going to close things out. I want to thank both Ahmad and Lander for your wisdom and knowledge, for taking us through the blueprint today, talking about all the challenges and how we can solve those with a unified approach. Greatly appreciate your time and the time it took to put this together so that we could bring this to our audience. Our audience members, I want to thank you for participating today and for the questions. Greatly appreciated, and for the poll responses. Look for us in your inbox. We're going to go through several of these blueprint announcements and have other interesting webinars where we hope to educate and inform you on the Odoo platform, ERP, and success there, and what we're bringing to the marketplace. Additionally, we'll be at certain events throughout the year. Right now, we're looking forward to being in San Francisco for Odoo Experience, which is a great show that we did last year, and hope we'll see a lot of you there. So again, thank you very much, Lander and Ahmad. If you have anything left anything, you can just say thanks and bye, and we'll return you to your day. So have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll speak with you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Take
Thank you,
care.
everybody.